Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legacies, episode 310, titled All Is Well That Ends Well, which premiered Thursday, April 15th, 2021 on the CW. I'm recording roughly almost 2 to 3 hours after the episode is aired, so technically it is April 16th for me at, 12:45 a.m. A little bit delayed. I had a phone call meeting I had to do at right when the episode ended, and it went a little bit longer than I thought. So I'm ready to talk about it. So huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Huge YouTube shoutouts going out to Golden Angel 15, In the Games 123, and Thebang Mokiana. Thank you so much for your comments on the previous video, but then thank you also to everybody else who has watched my previous video. It truly means a lot to me. It's definitely helping to keep the conversation going, and a lot of the comments I got had me thinking of other theories as well, and making me see things a little bit differently. So I do appreciate having comments coming this way. But I'm going to try to keep this short just because not only do I have class very early in the morning, but I have to do some homework before I go to bed. So let's start with what happened this episode. So the episode quote of All Is Well That Ends Well was said by Landon to Hope by the roughly the end of the episode. So there's that. The timeline, though, I'm assuming it is the day after the events of 309, or at least shortly afterwards, but it's definitely taking place during the span of one day, and it happens to be a full moon, a day of the full moon, or a night of the full moon, however you want to talk about it. Episode reminder. I'm trying to think of how would I remember this. The best way I could say it is pretty much the title of All Is Well That Ends Well. Literally just a couple weeks ago, The Flash had the exact same episode title. More aptly named because they did have a character on the show named Wells. So I think that's going to be my huge reminder, just the title itself, if anything. Hang on. Sorry. I had a bit of an apple stuck in my throat. I ate a huge chunk of it before I started recording. So anyways, featured creature of the episode. It's going to be a Banshee. And in this universe, Banshees are demons that consume a grieving human, usually a woman, and they are meant to be omens of death, or harbingers of death. So pretty much when we hear a Banshee wail, they're supposed to signify that a death is coming. It's never good news whenever a Banshee pops up. So anyways, that is kind of where we take our first storyline. So with the episode breakdowns, again, as I said before, it's usually A, B, and C. A is usually what the focus of the episode is. B is usually the relationship progressions, and whether that's a lover, family, whatever type of relationship. And then C is usually any smaller storylines going on, or something that pertains to the bigger season overarching storyline. So storyline A, I'm going to call with the Banshee, the Banshee wails, I guess you could say. Second storyline deals more with trying to get Josie to make amends with Finch and kind of like snag the girl. And then the third storyline, I'm going to call it being like the superhero Stakeout, is what we're going to go with. And we'll talk about that later. So the first storyline with the Banshee, we do have also something I really noticed was that in these storylines, they're very specific, like they're very sectioned off. I don't know if that's because of COVID and having people stay in these bubbles as they film, but with it definitely was very only two characters crossed over between certain storylines. So with the Banshee storyline, we got Lark, Hope, Landon, Cleo, and Jed predominantly in that storyline. And this is where we find out that the Banshee was, first off, the school has this protection barrier around it, but once they dropped it down to test the theory of whether or not Cleo was the true target for Malabar monsters, they find out from the Banshee once they capture it that she was sent there to lure Cleo away from the school so that another Malabar creature could get their hands on her. It turns out, though, that the prison world warrior got to Cleo first. And instead of like killing her, like we would think, they tied her up. So probably to maybe use her as bait as well. But Hope steps in her wolf form. She tackles the prison world warrior as a wolf, but then when she came back to being in her human form, the warrior took off. And Hope commented on the fact that fighting the prison world warrior, which they assume is just another Malivore monster, fighting them felt familiar to the point where she thought she fought them before, which we'll talk about later on. But while that's also happening, though, when they're trying to find Cleo back, Lark actually tries to reason with the Banshee by appealing to the human that the demonic entity possessed. And when Lark was able to give her the answers that she seek that were the cause of her grief, it allowed for the Banshee demon to kind of like dispel and from her body, and then Lark just had the human version of the Banshee. And she was able to tell them why Malivore wanted Cleo, which we'll talk about later. Now we go to the second storyline. This is mostly focused on Josie, Lizzie, Dorian, and Finch. And this is taken mostly at the high school. And this is where we have Lizzie coming over because she found out from Lark that Josie had a crush. So she wants to help Josie win that crush over. But when the little meet cute and the little rom-com scenarios don't really fit, Lizzie kind of tricks Josie into flat out asking Finch out because Josie was shy. But Josie ends up going straight for it, only to be rejected by Finch, saying she had plans that night and the night afterwards. Josie doesn't know why, but then we find out it's because Finch is actually a werewolf, and they really seeded it very well with Jed being a part of the first storyline, and how they said that him being the voice piece of the Banshee couldn't last too long because the full moon was coming and they didn't want the Banshee tied to a werewolf. So tying in that fact and the fact that Finch said that she could go out that night, first hit that she could be a werewolf. But then we actually got to see her transform, and Lizzie saw her transform when Josie asked her to figure out if Finch really was seeing somebody else, and that's why she declined her date offer, or what have you. So when Lizzie finds out and reports back to Josie, she lies about it and says that Finch is actually seeing somebody else, completely keeping the werewolf secret to herself. So that is something there. And then we get superhero stakeout with MG and Ethan being the focuses for this. So we get the opening of the episode being the two of them stopping a gas station robbery thanks to MG's compulsion. So throughout the whole episode, Ethan's trying to get MJ to find the next crime scene, to do the next hero deed, while MG's thinking like we could just hang out. But then Ethan's more of like, how could I just go back to normal life when I know that there's superhero vampires out there, kind of a thing. And he kind of brings it back to the fact that it's great to have something to care about now, so MG goes along with it. And this is where they kind of collide with the werewolf storyline with Finch, and how MG intervenes when Lizzie gets trapped by the werewolf. And then when MG gets tackled by werewolf Finch, Ethan kind of intervenes by knocking her upside the head with a steering wheel. I think it was a steering wheel that he used. And then they both took him back to their little superhero hideout and wondering what do they do with Finch now. And this is also where Ethan truly finds out that it's not just vampires, but werewolves also exist. So I guess MG never told Ethan the true scope of what the supernatural world looks like. He just told him, like, yeah, vampires exist. And the scope of that. So that's a little interesting there. But also with me saying that Finch and MG's kind of straddle between the two, storyline 2 and 3. Kind of Lizzie as well. But in that case, we get a Lark. That's Lark and Dorian straddling between their two storylines. So small little clusters there. But anyways, the last scene of the episode shows Prison World Warrior sneaking into the school. I think it's Landon's room because Cleo wasn't in the room with them. He sneaks into their bedroom and cuts off a lock of hair from Hope and Landon. So that's something. First off, I'm surprised that they didn't feel that someone was not only close enough, but close enough that they had to pull their hair and cut it. And I don't believe they're both deep sleepers. So, like, that was a shock there. But anyways, let's move into characters very quickly. So with Cleo, what we find out from the Banshee is that Cleo is a muse. And and they further explain it that she has a different source of power. She's a little bit more powerful because she's the 7th daughter of a 7th daughter. So she had a big family. And apparently, as a muse, she brings about supernatural inspiration as something a little bit more to her power. So anybody around her feels a little bit more inspired. And that's kind of why, so Lark thinks that the reason why Malvor wants Cleo is hoping to use that inspiration from her to help him figure out a way to get out of the prison world. So that's kind of cool. So there's that. With Jed, we find out that we do see him a little bit more. We find out that he's been put on the junior squad after hurting MG by sleeping with Alyssa. And since he felt he needed to prove himself, he offered himself up to be the conduit for the Banshee, so allowing the Banshee to use his body and voice to talk without them having their ears piercing when she tried to do it in her own body. So there's that. We also see him kind of fight off a werewolf transformation so that he doesn't hurt a Lark until he got into his cage. And then we find out from having the Banshee inside of his head, he finds out the identity of the human it was possessing, which allowed for a Lark to break through to the human to release the Banshee when he did by bringing up all the information she wanted to find out about her lost child from way back when. So that's something a little bit with Jed. With Finch, like I said, we found out she's a werewolf. Definitely was able to sniff Lizzie out when she was under an invisibility spell. Also now the question, because we found out that she left home when she was, I think, 13. I'm wondering now if she left home because she triggered her curse and like she didn't want to endanger her family and that's why she left, or maybe they found out and they kicked her out, not realizing that she got it from them, or if she turned after leaving home. So there's a lot of questions there about Finch. So there's that. Tidbit-wise, though, was I actually didn't realize it until I was making the notes and trying to, like, see if I got every character's mentioned, but Caleb was actually not featured in the episode. So that was kind of a surprise there. We have also a Lark revealing that Queen Elizabeth also had the wish box artifact, and by the end of the episode, he now passes along to Dorian to continue his side of the research. So I'm very interested to know what this box does, because all they think to know is that Bolivar monsters started coming after Hope opened the box, so they think it's connected in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I mean, it is possible, but it's not like inside a little pile of goo, you know? I don't know. Anyways, we have Hope starting off the episode being very super chipper and wanting to be in a very good mood, but that immediately puts people into thinking that something was wrong with her. So that lets you know what kind of mindset she usually projects onto people. But also, that good mood kind of gets extended by the end of the episode. Landon setting up a very romantic picnic from the looks of it out on the dock for him and Hope. And kind of telling her that, like, even though they couldn't have a fully happy-go-lucky day, they got to find the happiness in between the little monster hunts. It couldn't just be, like, they can't just reserve a full day of, like, being happy because interruptions happen. So there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I think for me, the most shocking moment for me has to be Lizzie actually lying to Josie about Finch being a werewolf and saying instead that she's actually seeing somebody else. I actually don't know what I was expecting from that, but when it kind of could have gone either or, but the one she chose definitely surprised me, and we'll talk about that later. But let's move to top 3 favorite moments. It's a little bit, in this episode is actually kind of tough because certain characters together had great scenes, and it could have just been like the moment they shared together was a favorite. So there was a lot, but instead of listing every single one of them, I'm going to probably say the ones that really got the most reaction out of me, if that makes sense. First one being the opening scene with Ethan and MG at the gas station. That was fun. So, like, it was just very interesting. And then to have that enthusiasm carry out through the episode was just pretty great. I mean, I was wondering when I saw the synopsis, like, what are they going to be doing? But to find out they actually stopped a robbery and then compelled them to go turn themselves in for the greater good. It was just like that's pretty funny, but that's like also clever too. So that was just fun. It was just also great to see the friendship building between the two. And like I get like MG wants to like, hey, we don't have to always keep doing this. We could always do some normal stuff. Like I get that side of it, but then also I get Ethan's side too, where it's like, well, I just figured out this whole other world is here. How could I go back to being normal? So it's kind of like they both want to take a step in the other person's world, but the other person doesn't want to because they want to be in the other person's world, if that makes sense. But I'm just really excited to see where their friendship could go. I don't know how long they're going to keep it up with the secret fact that Ethan knows when he's not supposed to know, you know. Another favorite I did have, though, was between Jed and Cleo. I mean, yes, granted, they really only had 2 scenes that were really impactful together. But, like, they were good scenes. You had the initial scene when they both confide each other about how, like, either they're scared or they have to prove themselves to each other. And then the second scene is where, like, she went to go check on him after he turned back into a human after the full moon ended. And just really, like, building the confidence and support between each other. It was really interesting seeing the two of them together and the understanding and like the support. And I'm all here for that. Love it. I want to see more of that support between them. So there's that. Another favorite I did have was Lark appealing to the human within the Banshee. That scene actually got pretty emotional. Just that the actress who did the Banshee was like phenomenal in that scene and portraying that emotion. And then the way that Lark approached her and how he was, it kind of reminded me of when he dealt with the what was it, the Dryad or the Dryad, I think. Dryad Druid in episode 105, the tree creature one. The way he approached her was kind of a little bit similar to how he approached the Banshee and how he tried to appeal from the human element and try to provide the answers he could to kind of sway them into what he was trying to prove, what he was saying this whole time. So and then also just to tie on the fact like the emotion you get from the Banshee when she finds out that he does have answers, and then to find out what those answers were. It was just like it was a powerful thing to see for sure. And then another favorite I had was the fact that we finally got to see Werewolf Hope, and then also Jed. I mean, technically we don't see his wolf form, but the fact that he was fighting the instinct to turn for as long as he could until like he was safely contained. And then Werewolf Hope to find that Landon says like, well, you don't need a tracking spell. You're a wolf. Go track her as a werewolf. So it's just really, because like I've always said, we do focus so much on Hope being a witch, and it makes sense because yes, that's the one we get when she's human, but we can't forget that she's also a werewolf. And like, I would want to see more of that. So definitely the fact that we got this to happen on a full moon, I just really wish that we could see more of Hope and Jed together and then bond over that werewolf aspect, or like do something that's specifically werewolf focus for the two. So I was really glad that for a brief part of the episode we got that reminder of like, oh, these two are werewolves. So it's like, and now you can add Finch to that too. So that's interesting. But let's move on to top 3 peeved moments. The only peeve I really had was Ethan's constant insistence that they use masks to kind of save the day instead of relying on MG's compulsion. And I'm like, no. Don't stop using the compulsion. Because if you use masks, then people are going to say like, oh, there's a vigilante out there. With compulsion, you could still do these good deeds without people knowing that you're doing these good deeds, right? Yeah, like, yes, maybe add the mask so security camera doesn't capture your face being there doing the good deeds. But yeah, it was just, I couldn't help but think that Ethan's insistence of using the mask instead of the easy compulsion route was because he wanted a little bit of some credit fave to the fact that there's a vigilante saving the day kind of a thing. But yeah, this is a small minor thing. But I forgot to mention though that in the tidbits, Ethan actually mentioned that he is fully aware of his mom saying that Mystic Falls has a lot of unexplained events happening specifically at the high school. So I found that pretty interesting that he was fully aware of that now. Also, that puts a question whether or not his mom knows that he knows that about the supernatural world, you know? Okay, so now let's go on to random questions. So, why do you think Lizzie lied to Josie about Finch? Is it because A, Lizzie just doesn't want Josie to be involved with a werewolf and all the obstacles that will come with it? B, is it because Lizzie wants to give Josie the human experience that she wanted, so getting involved with a werewolf kind of negates that desire, and that's why she lied to her? Or C, she thinks that it would be easier for Josie to think that Finch is with somebody else than to find out that she's actually part of the supernatural world. Because also part of me is thinking, no matter the reason why Lizzie lied, I feel like Josie is going to find out the truth about Finch being a werewolf. And then it's going to come back and bite Lizzie in the butt when Josie finds out that Lizzie knew and she lied about it. So I'm trying to figure out in what way for Lizzie, like what was her reason for not telling Josie that Finch is a werewolf? Because I feel like if she did, then it gives Josie the choice of whether or not do you want to be with someone that's also a part of your supernatural world, or are you still going to try to step away and keep with the human existence? Because a part of me is like, okay, Lizzie could have also said, she could have also told Josie that no, she's not with somebody, but then she could have also said nothing about the werewolf part, because that could have been something that Finch needed to tell her for herself. So I don't know. But I'm also wondering, my second question, will Finch eventually transfer to the Salvatore boarding school? Because she is a werewolf. I'm wondering. I don't know. But this episode definitely proved that Ethan is not a werewolf. I still think he has untriggered. But, see, if I think that Ethan is still an untriggered werewolf, it can't be from his mom. Because as a cop, she's more likely going to put herself in the line of probably harming somebody. Even accidentally or not, the curse doesn't matter. So it'd have to be from his father. But this episode definitely proved he's not officially a werewolf. So I'm still thinking he's untriggered. But we do get from Finch. But my third question now is, are MG, Ethan, and Finch now going to form some kind of mini group now? A vampire, a werewolf, and a human. Oh. Nope, never mind. You need a witch in order to do the whole triad thing against Malivore. Anyways. So I'm wondering if that's going to be something, because we do see Finch asleep in the guy's new superhero hideout. Which I don't know where that thing is located, but that looked pretty cool. So there's that. Another question. I've asked this before, but who do we think is the Prison World Warrior? I've said it before the previous 2 times. I believe it's been 2 times. I think it's the real Landon, and that the Landon we've been dealing with is not fully like real Landon, because that Landon did not remember being in the prison world, and he doesn't remember certain things. And the Prison World Warrior seems more fixated on hope. So I'm thinking that, though the comments in the previous video have pointed out that it could be Agent Ryan Clark. Specifically, why would they show him in the flashback of 1933 Belgium if we weren't going to see him again in the present day? Plus, he also, his dead body was used to make the new Malivore pit, so technically we're assuming he's now in Malivore, which was in Prison World. So that could be a possibility too. But if Agent Clark is a possibility, now I'm wondering, could Landon's mom, Sayla, be a possibility of being the warrior? Because as you remember, the last time we saw her, she went into the Malivore pit so that the rest of the world could forget about her, except for Hope. So she's still in Malivore. And if creatures are coming out of Malivore in the prison world and, like, roaming free, what's to say that Saga is not this warrior? Because then it would also explain why she followed Landon in the prison world, or why she's trying to keep tabs on him, why she would need tabs on Hope too. It could explain that as well too. So, plus also with Hope's comment of like when she fought the warrior and she felt like she's fought them before. I mean, she's fought against Clark multiple times before, and she's come across Saga, and I think she fought against Saga too when they met. So it's like I definitely think if it's not Landon, it has to be a familiar face of some sort. What do you guys think about that? Any answers at all, or if you have your own questions for me, please put them down in the comments down below. I love to hear your theories about my own questions, and then if you have anything for me, I'd love to give my own thoughts too, because a lot of the questions I get sometimes really think of it in different ways and think like, oh, I could definitely see that. I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. It's like, oh, right. I picked up on that too. Great. Thank you for verifying that for me. I love that. So there's that. But moving on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 311, we actually are going to be on a mini hiatus with the episode not coming back until May 6th, which happens to be my birthday. So that's a good present from you, CW. But it looks like Dark Josie returns, and she comes face to face with Josie. And that's all we see in the promo. So I don't know if that it's like in a dream that Dark Josie returns, because we definitely do see old footage of when Dark Josie last appeared, but when she's appearing to Josie now, I don't know if that's like through dreams, or if it's actually like in dream, if it's in a dream, or if it's a hallucination, or if it's some kind of a spell, or if she actually is back. Don't know. And because we're more than 2 weeks out from when the episode airs, the synopsis is not available at the time of this recording. If it is available when I'm editing this video, it will be up on screen and you just pause it to read it. So right, 2 weeks, right? Yeah, because the episode's not until we get 2 weeks of reruns and then we get the episode. Damn, my birthday's coming up quick. But anyways, that is pretty much it, guys. What did you guys think about this episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear your thoughts, theories, and predictions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I reblog, promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all the good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. Same thing for WordPress. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. It's a little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress as well. I should be up to date in regards to the promos and synopses and web clips uploaded onto Tumblr. I was able to do it 2 weeks ago, but now that I'm in the second week, or coming to the end of my second week at the time of this recording, I've already got a bunch of assignments and a lot of readings that I have to do for my new program. So probably the next time I'd update, even right now, I'm finding it a little bit harder to find time to edit these videos. So that's why I'm hoping I get this Legacy one out on time, but I still have 2 videos that I still have to cover. So I'm hoping to use the hiatus that we're getting to help me out a little bit. So yeah, it's just a lot of things, especially with this week, because I'm supposed to actually go back to work for this weekend for a full 12-hour day. So I'm trying to get everything I can done before that. But yeah, just a heads up for my unpredictable schedule. But anyways, I digress. So guys, I hope you come back to see what to say about my next video. 311 doesn't come out until May 6th. But in the meantime, I hope you guys check out my other videos that are on the channel. If not, just click the notification bell if you want to just be notified when the new video pops up for you that you're interested in. That would be absolutely great as well. Because like I said, me posting videos is never consistent. Yes, I try to do it before the next episode airs, but due to my classes now being Friday morning, I can't stay up all night to edit on Thursday night. So, guys, I hope you guys take care of yourselves, but I gotta go to bed now. So this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care, be safe, wear a mask. Bye for now.